If you're just starting out with your makeup journey and you're looking specifically for an easy to follow along, easy to digest, and easy to do makeup look specifically for summer, hot, humid weather, if so, you're in the right place because this is the ultimate guide to summer makeup for beginners. Now, when you're a beginner at makeup, whether it's summer, whether it's winter, spring, fall, it doesn't matter. You're going to want to keep your products to a minimum because you want to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself when you're just starting out with makeup. Baby steps and just the basics are going to be your best friends when you're just a beginner starting out with your makeup journey. Now, even though we're going to be sweating outside, even though it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid, it's going to be all those things and sticky, you still want to prep your skin with some hydration. Now, I'm a firm believer in hydrating toners and hydrating essences. These, above all, no matter what the weather is, are going to make your makeup look so much better than if you didn't use one. So one of my favorites, because it's very lightweight, absorbs really quickly, and leaves you not feeling greasy at all, is the Anua 70+. This is the Rice plus Ceramide Milky Glowy Toner. Now, this is a lightweight milky toner. This is very, very watery, but it does leave you with a nice hydrated, moisturized feel that's not greasy, that's not going to be slippery, and it's not going to add to like the overall sweat and the glow that you're going to get naturally when you're wearing your makeup in the summer months. So we're going to prep our skin with this. I have nothing on my skin, jumped out of the shower, and we're going to prep together. So a little bit is all you need, and it's going to absorb really nice and quickly, but I want you to really make sure you put this under your eyes because it's going to double as our eye prep as well. So really work it under your eyes, close to the bottom lash line. You can skip the actual eyelid because our eyelids tend to get extremely oily. They're the complete opposite of this eye skin below. This eye skin doesn't produce moisture. However, this eye skin on the eyelid produces a lot more moisture. Of course, there is going to be exceptions to everything I'm saying. Some people are going to have drier eyelids than others, but typically speaking, our eyelids are a lot more oily than the underneath of our eyes. So that's going to take about all of 1 minute to absorb into our skin. And while that is finishing up, we're going to talk about sunscreen, okay? And I know I talk about this one all the time, but there's a reason for it. And I try so many sunscreens on a regular basis and they either pill, they leave me too greasy, they leave me too slippery, and my makeup can't absorb and be able to like lock down into place. This one never fails me. So this is my tried and true. This is what I'm going to talk about today. It's the Paula's Choice Youth Extending Daily Hydrating Fluid Broad Spectrum SPF 50. Now, one of the reasons why I want to talk about this one again in particular is because it is so water lightweight. It's like a watery fluid SPF 50. And once it absorbs into your skin, you're left with a nice hydrated, plumped skin, but it's also not going to feel greasy and it's going to actually dry down, which is ideal. So it's going to moisturize, it's going to lock in that Anua Rice toner, but it's going to dry down enough that your makeup that you put on top is not going to be slipping down your face as you're wearing it throughout the day. It really is ultimately so ideal for summer months, and it's great for all skin types. So whether you're oily, dry, combo, mature, young, you name it, this is just my safe sunscreen that I always recommend and love to use. So you're going to want to use this right on top of your milky toner and just get it all over. And again, really lightweight, nice watery texture that absorbs quickly into the skin and doesn't leave you overly shiny. Because again, you know, sunscreen you have to use in the summer months, especially. I use it year round, no matter what. But it's especially important in the summertime when we're out and about, we're taking vacations, we're going on boats, we're going to the beach, we're doing all those fun things. Hopefully, at the very least, we're sitting outside more, we're walking outside more, and you need to protect your skin. Even as a beginner in makeup, trust me, you'll thank yourself later. Now, one thing I want to call out is don't overwork your sunscreens. If you're a beginner, if you're advanced, it's just like a nice little gentle reminder that when you're putting your sunscreens on, the more you're working them and buffing them and moving them around on your skin, the more chances you're going to have of them pilling, meaning they're going to start to roll up and ball up. It's almost going to feel like they're like flaking off your skin. So my biggest tip is once you see that the product is fully absorbed, you're not seeing any like white streaks where you need to still rub it in. Once it's fully rubbed in nicely, just stop. Stop rubbing it, stop moving it, and trust me, that will decrease your chances of it pilling by like 90%. Now, even though I already have this on my neck off camera, just so it's like a nice little reminder put it down your neck as well. Always bring it down your neck, bring it down your chest. I already have it on my chest and my arms, so I'm not going to do that for this video, but just know if you have not done that yet, bring it down to your neck, your chest, your hands, anywhere that your skin is going to be exposed that day. Now, while the rest of the sunscreen is drying down, and you want to give it ample time to dry down because that's another reason why your makeup could be peeling and your sunscreen specifically could be peeling as you're applying your makeup products on top. So let's give that at least a couple more minutes to fully absorb and dry down. In that meantime, I want you to be really efficient with your time. Even as a new beginner at makeup, utilize your time to the best of your ability. And in this time, I want you to start your eyebrows, okay? Eyebrows, they may feel like something that you would just do after your makeup is on, but I really want you to take the time as a beginner to map out your face and really lay down the framework for your face before you even start the rest of your makeup. And the best way to frame your face is to do your eyebrows. And one of the easiest, most beginner-friendly brow pencils, in my opinion, is the Brow Pop from Kosas. Not the Nano, but the original one, because this one has a slight angle to it, which is really going to help to guide you in your application when you're just starting out filling in your brows. It's going to really be a nice, easy tool to utilize and a great shape to really do a lot of the work for you. I don't mind my brows being dark just as a personal preference, but if you have jet black hair just like me and you're just starting out, a good rule of thumb to keep in mind is to go for a shade lighter to 1 to 2 shades lighter than your natural hair. And for blondes, it's a little bit the opposite. You actually want to go for a shade that's a bit darker than your natural hair. So if you're a bleach blonde, if you have light gray hair, you'll want to go for like a taupe color, which is going to be really, really nice and soft and well balanced. And if you're a blonde, you're not going to want to necessarily go for a blonde product because it could wash you out. You're instead going to want to go the opposite and go for a step that's darker, either 1 to 2 shades darker than your natural hair color. Now that we got that out of the way, I have nothing in my brows, and we're going to start by just lightly framing our brows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is if you take your spoolie and you actually brush down your brow hair. Now, I do have microbladed brows, so without it, I would have literally nothing, and that just wouldn't be fair. So I do have a little bit of an advantage now for the first time in my life because I did microblade them. So for you at home, if you're just starting out on your brow journey and you're just starting out with your makeup journey in general, and you don't necessarily know where to start when it comes to filling in your brows, a great rule of thumb is to brush down your brow hair, kind of comb it out of the way, and then you're going to want to fill in any of the visible gaps you can see. For me, the arch is very, very sparse. So I'm going to start in the arch. I'm going to bring it up a bit and deepen the tail of my brow, just like that. You'll notice I'm resting my pinky on my cheek for stability. So that way I'm not moving around and I have a lot more control and stability when I'm applying this product. So now you're going to want to do kind of upward flicks. Nice and slow. What I really don't want you to do as a beginner is just go on with a brow pencil and start filling in the density of your brow and filling in the center and the very middle of your brow, because that's overall going to make your brows look really blocky and unpolished. And we're going the opposite. And what I really want you to do, especially if you're looking for a little bit of a lift, start at the top, bring the brow up. Instead of starting at the bottom where you can actually very easily and very quickly lower and bring down the appearance of your brows, making you look maybe a little bit more tired, closing up the space between your eye and your brow, like that great eyelid space. We don't want to lose any of that space. So we want to start higher up on the brow to avoid bringing the appearance overall down. So now it's up to you how much brow filling you're going to need to do. Everyone's brows are different. There's going to be exceptions to all of these rules. So really take a step back after you feel like you're in a good place. I want you to take a step back in your mirror, look straight ahead, see where it may need some more filling. Right now I'm in a really good spot and I'm going to show you how to tint them even more and to disguise any gray brows you might have that are like salt and pepper that you want to evenly coat with one color. So get the brow pencil down first, okay? Now we're going to move on to this brow. I'm going to start at the arch again. I'm going to work it out towards the tail, elongating the tail, which will then actually open up the appearance of my face. So I'll actually widen my eye shape and my eye area, making my eyes appear a little bit more bigger, which I am always going for. Filling in the arch, and any areas that I see are just too sparse. Okay, so now we're gonna fill in the inner part, starting more at the top, using short hair-like strokes, balancing that pinky on my cheek. Now, doing your brows first is definitely not the most fun thing to do when you're just starting out with makeup. It could be a little bit more daunting in my opinion, but it's so worth it to knock these out first and to have that framework for the rest of your makeup to go on top. It's going to give you such a better roadmap when it comes to your makeup application and overall what else you need to do and what else that you want to do to enhance your skin and your features. So now that we have that roadmap mapped out, my eyes are framed, we're clearly seeing how much visible room we have to fill in with eyeshadow when we get to that point. So Now that you've done your brow pencil and your brows are framed, you're going to want to do a little bit of a tinted brow gel, something that has fibers in it. Now this is specifically for people who have lack of brows like I do myself. And based on a lot of the people I talk to in my community on YouTube, a lot of you have the same issue where you have very sparse brows, very thin brows. So a brow product like this, my tried and true e.l.f. Wow Brow for $5 is going to be a game changer in your makeup routine and your brow routine. So this is the shade Dark Brown. Now, something I want to quickly call out, you don't have to start with a brow pencil. So if this is something that's still a little too intimidating to you, you do not need to start with this. Don't worry about it. In fact, I've showed many beginner-friendly tutorials where I just start out with the e.l.f. Wow Brow. And this is a really great way to start the base, start the foundation and the framework for your brows. And then you can go in and follow up with the brow pencil right after. So there's really no right or wrong way to use these two products. It's going to come down more to like what you're more comfortable with, what you are more willing to try first. If this feels easier to you, then start with this and then fill in right after with the brow pencil in any additional areas that are still sparse. So I'm just showing you the opposite way, just so you can see like a different point of view and a different way of doing it. But there's really no right or wrong way to do these two steps. So now that I've got that out of the way, I'm going to use the e.l.f. Wow Brow. And I like to start in upward angles to brush this into my brows. Now this is a fiber-based tinted gel, so it's going to give you a thickening effect to your brows. It's kind of like putting mascara on your eyelashes. It's the same kind of technique where it's going to thicken up the natural brow hairs you have, make them look denser and therefore a lot fuller, but in a really natural way. Also, another bonus to this kind of product is it's tinted, right? So if you do have any kind of gray hairs peeking through your brows and you want to get them nice and even, you want to disguise those brow hairs, this is the best, easiest way to do so. So once I get to the tail, I change my position and I start to just run it horizontally, just going all the way across. When we're working with the inner part of the brow, you want to get them a little bit more fluffy, a little more naturally filled in. And by brushing the hair up, it's going to give you that effect. We're already in a great spot with our brows and they're looking so nice, so naturally filled in, so naturally full. And the great thing about this product and these two products in particular together is they are so long wearing. So in the heat, in the humid weather, when you're running around outside, if you're going to the beach, these are actually going to be foolproof. They're going to stay put. They're not waterproof necessarily, but they're sweat proof. I can tell you that. So just brushing more into my brows. Really, really easy. Brows are tinted, brows are shaped. Now there's one last thing that I want to call out for the summer months specifically. Now you'll be able to do away without using this product in any other time of the year other than summer when it's really hot, really sticky, really humid. But when it's the summertime and you're just starting with makeup and you already got your brows on, the last thing you want them to do is start to fall down and start to move around. So as a safe bet and a last final seal for your brows, just finish them with a clear Stronghold brow gel. I find that the one from Rare Beauty is super easy to use, super beginner friendly. It has a nice small brush to it, gives you a lot of control. It's not goopy, it's not super messy like some other ones on the market that are stronger hold but have a lot more chances of messing up long term because they are so goopy and so messy. This one is just really, really beginner friendly. So what you're going to do is just brush this up into the brows as your last step to lock them in for all day wear. So if you have any last unruly brow hairs that just didn't lay down nicely with the e.l.f. Wow Brow, this is your last chance to scoop them up, place them, lock them down, and not have to worry about them. Now, when you're applying a product like this, you're going to want to make sure you're using minimal pressure so you don't dig up the brow pencil or the brow tinted gel underneath. Okay, brows are on. The framework is done. We're now going to start moving on to the rest of the makeup and the rest of our face. And to do so, if there's one time to bust out a primer, if you are wanting your makeup just to have that little bit of extra security, I always say there's a time and a place for a primer, but a good primer, not just any primer. I really like this one from the drugstore. It's the Milani Bright Side Illuminating Primer. Now, the reason why I chose an illuminating one is because we're going to be using a powder foundation for this summer beginner-friendly makeup tutorial. That's right, powder. I would have never thought I'd be using a powder foundation in a makeup tutorial, but this one is absolutely the GOAT. But to start and to have a little bit of a glow from within, peeking through underneath that powder foundation, an illuminating primer is going to be a really great product to utilize. And again, primers are not always necessary. I talk about this all the time, so I'll spare you the backstory. But in the hot, humid summer months, for extra security, this is the time and the place that you would want to utilize a good one that lays well underneath your makeup. So the Milani Bright Side, we're going to take a small amount to start, and you're going to scoop this onto the high points of your face. So since this is an illuminating primer, I want you to avoid going above your lip because this does have a metallic finish. It's a soft metallic finish, but there is illuminating particles in it. So if you bring this above your lip, you don't want this to look like you have a little bit of like a glowy, sweaty mustache underneath your makeup. So just avoid this area because it could end up looking a little too metallic in that spot. We're gonna run this on the forehead. Primer is on, and also I want to call out, this is totally skippable. So if you don't like the feeling of primers like I don't, you can definitely skip this step and just go right on top of your sunscreen with the powder foundation. Okay, moving on to base. Now, we're gonna be using a powder foundation as our main source of foundation. We're not gonna be using a skin tint. We're not gonna be using a full coverage foundation. We're gonna keep it simple, light, super beginner friendly and super easy to use and apply. We'll be using the Jane Iredale Mineral Pressed Compact Powder Foundation. This is the GOAT of powder foundations. It's not thick, it's not heavy, it's not pancakey. It's not that stage makeup kind of powder foundation that we think of when we think of powder foundation, and you know what I'm talking about, right? It's easy to use. It still lets your skin breathe. It is super beginner friendly, and it's also amazing for super sensitive skin. So we'll be using this, and since we're using a powder foundation, what I want you to do is take a look in the mirror, and I want you to determine where do you have excess redness and where do you need extra coverage. In those areas, I want you to start with a concealer first, and then we'll apply that powder foundation on top. So take a concealer, and not just any. This is the most long-wearing concealer, especially for summer, hot, humid weather. This is going to be ideal. It's the MAC 24-Hour Studio Fix Concealer. This is such an amazing concealer. It's so smoothing, it's so long wearing, and you need a tiny bit to get a beautiful, flawless coverage. So start with your concealer first, because in theory, you always want to do liquids and creams and then powders to finish. So with that rule of thumb, we're going to skip this and use this after we've done a little bit of concealing. Now we are going to avoid the under eyes, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. We're going to save that for after the powder is on, and we're just going to avoid putting the powder under our eyes. We'll save this for the concealer, but in the meantime, I want you to take your concealer and apply it in any areas you have excess redness. So let's say you have a pimple, some extra bits that you need more coverage. You're going to dot it on, and you're also going to use this concealer as your eyelid primer. Small amount is all you're going to need. You're going to look a little something like this. And then I want you to take a small concealer brush. This is my N16 brush with BK Beauty. You're going to use the flat part of the brush to tap this onto your eyelid. And this is going to be like your magic eraser to erase any discoloration, any visible veins, any redness, any kind of discoloration you have on your eyelids. So when you go on top with your eyeshadow, it's going to look like a pro did it. It's definitely not going to look like a beginner did it. That is for sure. People are going to be like, oh wow, you have such great eyeshadow blending and application skills. And it's because you're applying your eyeshadow on top of a nice blank canvas, giving it a really beautiful, very polished, very pro-like look. This is like the fast track to looking like you've been doing your makeup for a long time. So pat this in, and with whatever's left over, you can use the longer fibers of the brush to just blend out. So it's nice and it's seamless with the rest of your skin. Now taking that same brush, you're going to pat this in any of the areas that we just did some spot concealing. And again, it's going to look very different for everyone. It's going to be completely different based on where you need that extra coverage. So don't follow where I'm putting mine. Put it wherever you see some visible redness, any areas of concern that you want some extra coverage before we go on with our powder foundation. So just tap it in. You don't need to buff it. You don't need to go back and forth. You're going to lose the coverage if you do that. So I just want you to focus on tapping it until it melts into the rest of your skin. Just like that. You should be left with a more even complexion like this. And now you can go in and do the powder foundation. And when I tell you this is so quick and so easy, I promise you, I got you. So if you want something that looks so gorgeous on your skin, that is so long wearing and so beautiful and breathable and just amazing for summer, hot, humid weather, this is absolutely the one to check out. Now, my favorite brush to apply this Jane Iredale Pressed Powder Foundation is the BK Beauty 116 brush. It's small, it's kind of domed, and it's great for stippling and really packing on coverage where you need it, but it's got some fluff to it where it's gonna give you a nice airbrushed effect to this product. So you're going to take the brush and you're just going to pounce into the pan. Now, I was actually taught specifically to pat the product onto your skin rather than swiping and buffing. So I want you to really remember to do that, because it was something that I was doing and incorrectly doing with this powder product. And that's probably why I didn't use it as much as I use it now, because I was putting it on incorrectly. So you're going to tap it on and focus first on the areas where you want the most coverage. So building that coverage up on the cheek or wherever you did that spot concealing prior. You're going to want to get into around the nose area, tap it on, and just use soft bouncing and tapping motions. That's why I always say tap, tap, tap on my channel, because you're just going to tap. You don't want to dig. You don't want to buff with this product. You want to just tap it on and push it onto your skin. Now, backstory of why I chose this powder foundation for this makeup look for beginners is, of course, not only is it just super easy to get this onto your skin, even if you miss any areas, as long as you have a good color match, which I do with the shade Amber, it's going to melt into your skin really soft and seamlessly. So even if you do miss a spot, you're not going to be able to tell. Whereas if you're using a liquid foundation, it can be a bit more detectable. Now, if you're at home and you're wondering, why didn't I just use a skin tint? Skin tints are super beginner friendly. They're super easy to blend on. You can even just use your fingertips to blend them into your skin. The reason why I didn't choose a skin tint or a tinted moisturizer is because in hot, humid summer weather, let's face it, they're not going to give you longevity. They're just not. That's the nature of them. They're a skin tint. They're really moisturizing. They don't have that same grip that a matte foundation would have or even a satin foundation would have. But this does. And this is very, very beginner friendly, all while being extremely long wearing and extremely easy to blend into the skin, very seamless, and very ideal for hot, humid weather. Now, you're going to notice that my complexion is going to start to take a turn for being very flat, very one-dimensional. And I'm going to teach you the easiest way to bring vibrancy and life back to your complexion after you've taken all that time and effort to evening out your skin tone and eliminating any redness or discoloration or any areas of concern. So the last thing you want to do is leave your house at this point, right? After you've taken out all the dimension, all the life, all the vibrancy from your complexion. We may look good because we're all even and we're all one color throughout. However, this is not the most flattering way to wear your makeup, beginner or not. So once you have a nice even complexion, you've tapped that foundation all into place, just like that. Before you go in with the rest of your products, I want you to take a setting spray, a long wear setting spray, one that's going to be your summer setting spray, okay? This is not going to be great for like the dry winter months. It's not going to be good for fall, spring, whatever. This is going to be your summer setting spray as a beginner, okay? This is going to be so quick, so easy to just lock down the makeup, settle it into your skin, rehydrate it, and really just sink it into the skin so it's not sitting on top. This is the Mask Fit waterproof setting spray from Tier. This has become one of my favorites going into summer and hot, humid weather. This will lock in your makeup. So you're going to shake this up. I want you as a beginner to tilt your head up, pull this up, and spray down. Let it fall down, hit your skin nice and even, just like that. The last thing I want you to do is just go like this or like this at close range. You're going to ruin your makeup. So tilt up, look up, spray, 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 done. Now that we've done that, I want you to go back to your concealer and take a small amount. And you're going to put this directly where you see the darkest part under your eye. So for me, it's right here. And then I want you to take a little bit and angle it up, just like that. Now here's the catch. You're going to do a mini amount of blending first. And what I mean by that is you're going to barely tap it in. Then you're going to let this dry down, do its thing while we move on to other elements and other parts of your face. So go back to your N16 brush or your concealer brush of choice. Take the flat side of it and you're just going to tap. You're going to tap it closely to where you first applied it, keeping it where you initially applied it and nowhere else, maintaining the coverage. You can still see like a little visible line. That's fine. You're going to leave that there. We're going to blend that out at the very end. Just slowly tap this in, keeping it nice and in the place that you originally placed it. You're not buffing it back and forth. And by tapping it in, what are we doing? We're like maintaining that coverage. We're keeping it. We're not losing it, which is the whole point, right? So take the same brush, just tap it into place, nice and slow, just like that. Now, as a beginner, I want you to really focus on tapping this in and not buffing, not swiping, and not being aggressive when it comes to blending out your concealer. I want you to just tap it into place and not worry about the rest of it. Let it dry down, because right now you're going to move on to something really, really fun. So while this is hanging out and doing its thing and maximizing that coverage with a small amount of concealer that's not overwhelming and not too much. You're going to maximize your time and you're going to grab a shadow stick. When I think of the best beginner-friendly eye products, I think of cream eyeshadows that come in a pot. I've used those many times in beginner-friendly makeup tutorials, but a new one that I'm loving is the one from Eyredale. I don't believe it's new to the brand, but it's new to me and I've been loving this formula ever since. It's the Eyredale Color Luxe eyeshadow stick. These are so long wearing, they're so beginner friendly, they're so beautiful and soft and just really, really easy to work with. So if you're just starting out with your eyeshadow applications and an eyeshadow palette is daunting to you, I completely get it. In the summertime too, products like this are just really quick and really easy, but they have to be a good formula that dries down and stays put and doesn't crease. This one dries down, it stays put, and it doesn't crease. But to ensure that it really doesn't crease, one thing I want you to do, it's gonna take 2 seconds, it's gonna be really quick, really easy, is grab a pressed setting powder, something that's really simple, easy to work with. So as a beginner, skip the loose powders. They could be a little bit more tricky, a little bit more difficult to work with, a little bit more messy, and just grab one of my holy grail powders I always recommend for beginners at makeup. The Kosas Cloud Set is just so easy. So you're gonna go back to your concealer brush, and what I want you to do is just gently buff out any creases that might have happened, because again, our eyelids are oilier, and to ensure that our eyeshadow stick stays put all day, you're gonna take a small amount of that Kosas powder, just like that, and just place this right on the eyelid. So you have a nice, soft, smooth base for your eyeshadow stick to go on top. It will still blend on, don't you worry. This isn't going to be overly matte to the point where you won't be able to like blend that product on top. It's just enough to lock in and keep the oils at bay, so when it's hot and sticky and sweaty outside, your eyeshadow is just going to be locked into place and it's going to have such a better time gripping to your skin and staying put. So now that we did that, this is like such an easy way to lock in your eyeshadow for all day. So beginner or not, do not skip this step. It's so important. So now we can go in with really the color of your choice. I'm choosing bronze because when I think of summer makeup looks, bronze tones and bronze colors are just so quick and so easy. So Eyredale bronze, it's a shadow stick. Do not twist it all the way up like this. You're gonna break it off. Instead, make sure it's only to about that point, okay? So now you're gonna take this and start at the base. Think right where your eyelashes are and just run it back and forth, and you're gonna build it up until you reach the crease of your eye. Do swiping back and forth to really paint it on, but it should look something like that. Now, before this has a chance to dry down, take a blending brush. This is my N13. This also comes in my BK Beauty set. You're gonna take this blending brush and you're just gonna run this in a windshield wiper motion across the crease. And when you're doing this, make sure you don't drag it too far down, because you're gonna drag down the appearance of your eye and you're going to ruin that concealer that we placed very carefully earlier. So when it comes to the outer corner of your eye, you can actually start at the end and blend in. So rather than blending down and risking going too far down with your blend, start at the end and blend up. When you're doing a windshield wiper motion, try to keep it only to about 3/4 of the way, just to make sure you don't go too low. And that is the eye makeup look. It is so quick, it is so easy. It's so beginner friendly, and then from here you can really build up to whatever you want it to look like. But this is a really great starting point for a beginner that I want you to just lock in, nail it down, and then you can start to build onto this as you go. So same thing, repeat on this side. Start at the base of your lash line, blend up till you get to the crease. Take your blending brush right away, blend in to make sure you're not going too far down. Short windshield wiper motions going across, and you're done. I can't even tell you how quick and easy this eye makeup look is, and the bonus is it's going to stay put all day. It's going to be soft, it's going to be wearable. You could build it up if you want to intensify it at night, just add some more eyeliner. You could leave it as is, but once we put the eyeliner on for this makeup look and the mascara, it's going to really come together and it's going to be a perfect amount. Right now that our eyeshadow is on, I want you to take a long wear pencil and I want you to try to do a dark brown versus a black, depending on your skin tone and the intensity that you're trying to get. A dark brown or a medium brown or even a light brown, again, depending on your skin tone and your eye color as well, is going to be the easiest, most foolproof way to start your beginner eye makeup look and your beginner eyeliner journey. So take a dark brown. This is the Maybelline Tattoo Studio gel pencil. These are incredibly long wearing, but they're also really creamy, really easy to glide on. You're not gonna have to tug at your eyes. You're not gonna have to work really hard to blend these out. They're just a very solid, very affordable drugstore eyeliner. So now this is what I want you to do. I want you to take your eyeliner. I want you to take your mirror. This is very important, especially if you have hooded eyes, one hooded eye like me. Even if you don't have hooded eyes, it's important to see what you're doing as you're doing it in real time. So it takes the guesswork out of your eyeliner application. So take your eyeliner. Always, always start in the outer corner, okay? You're going to want to start in the outer corner and start to blend very little short strokes, blending this into the lash line. Now, once I start to get closer across my eyelid, I want you to flip your angle and I want you to lay your pencil on its side and start to slowly drag it across your lash line. This will ensure that the liner comes out tapered and not blunt, because you want your eyeliner to be tapered in a sense where it's thicker in the outer corner and then thinnest in the inner corner. This is the most flattering way to wear your eyeliner, especially if you're a beginner. Now, once you get to the inner corner of your eye, you can actually do a little bit of tightlining. So just looking into your mirror, drawing right in and connecting that line to the outer line. So it's nice and cohesive, but not too thick in the inner corner. Should look something just like that. So now moving on, I'm going to actually put this down and we're going to set this into place before we even start the other eye. And to do so, I want you to take a small flat angle brush. This is my N11 brush with BK Beauty. You're going to take this and you're going to dip into a dark matte powder eyeshadow. This is going to be the easiest way to lock in your eyeliner. So when it's really hot, really humid, really sweaty outside, this is going to lock your eyeliner into place so it doesn't smudge, doesn't transfer, and doesn't run throughout the day. Very, very important. So take the angle brush, dip into any dark brown shadow, tap off the excess, and this is what you're going to do after that. You're going to take this and you're going to just press it on top of the pencil. You're not going to drag, you're not going to buff, you're not going to disrupt that pencil. You're just going to lock it into place. So the pencil is already down, so all you need to do is basically trace on top and lock it in. So you already did the hard part. The hard part is done. Now you're just locking that in and just tracing right on top. Super quick, super easy. Does not take a ton of skill at all. This angle brush is meant to be a stamping brush, meaning you just kind of stamp it on and you get a beautiful eyeliner look every single time. Just stamp it on. It's quick, it's easy, and then you're done. All right, we're going to repeat the same steps on this eye, starting in the outer corner, just drawing a nice little amount and really a little tiny itty bitty baby wing, just to get like a little lift and a little elongation for our eyes. Always flattering on any eye shape and always looks beautiful. And then as I go in, I'm going to flip the pencil to the side, short strokes, dragging it across the lash line, keeping it really, really tight. And then in the inner corner, we're going to just do a little tight lining to connect. Drag across and you're done. Go back to your angle brush, dip into that dark brown shadow, tap off the excess so you don't get it all over the place, and then just trace right on top. Because again, you already did all the hard work. It's done for you. Now you're just locking that pencil down, ensuring that it stays put all day. Follow the lash line, taper it going in, make it nice and thin. And then your liner is not only set, it's locked into place, it's enhanced even more, and it's going to stay put all day long. So whether you're running around, whether you're running around the beach, whether you're just walking on a really hot day, you're not going to get that pesky transfer. You're not going to get that runny eyeliner look that we've all experienced, especially when it's hot and humid out there. Now, I always throw this in as an optional step for you, and in case you feel comfortable to do this and to test this out. If not, you could totally skip this. It's not going to make that huge of a difference. If you're feeling a little more confident, try this out. It will make a difference in the density of your lashes, and it'll make your lashes look more dense prior to even putting mascara on. So it is a nice step to utilize if you can do it. If not, no big deal, but you're going to tight line. So take the same pencil, you're going to look straight into your mirror, and then you're going to look off to the side. Now, this is going to take some practice. Okay, this is not something that comes easy right away. If you can, you're going to look the opposite way where you're lining. So when I'm lining this inner corner, I'm looking off to the side. When I'm lining this outer corner, I'm looking off to this side. You want to adjust your eye and where you're looking based on where you're applying this at that moment, because it will give your eyes a relief and a break, and it will be a lot more easy to handle a pencil in your lash line than versus if you're looking right at it and looking at it and focusing at it while it's coming at you. So that's not what you want to do. Don't focus on it. Look in the opposite direction, and you'll be able to get through this so much better. Now, another way you can tight line is if you gently, and I'm talking very gently, place your finger, lift up, look into a mirror, and scoop it up into your lashes. Now, that's not my favorite way to do it, but that's just me. I'm very used to just getting in there and doing my thing. But if you're just starting out, placing your finger, lifting up and then lining where you see that visible skin is a great way to start. Okay, eyeliner is done, tight lining is done if you chose to do that. Now you're gonna grab a lash curler, a good one that actually does the job. If you're not used to using a lash curler, it's okay, you can definitely skip this part. However, if you can get used to it, I really highly encourage you to do so because the impact that just curling your lashes will give you, especially as a makeup beginner, is definitely worth it. So the BKB lash curler, what you're gonna do is look straight into a mirror, hold, squeeze a couple times, and then hold. So I like to do 1, 2, 3, and then hold for 10 seconds. Close your eyes, meditate, sing a song in your head, whatever you need to do to just get in the zone. Release, lashes are curled. Same thing, look into a mirror, press 1, 2, 3, and hold for 10 seconds. Release, and you got yourself some curled lashes. Now for summertime, you can use a waterproof mascara or you can just use something that's really transfer proof, really long wearing, that doesn't flake, that doesn't smudge and run throughout the day. It's really up to you. For this tutorial, I want to show you a good waterproof that also maintains a curl. So if you have really straight lashes and you want to maintain that curl that we just infused with the lash curler, the one that I really suggest and really recommend is the Melt. This is called the Curl Lock Plus Waterproof Mascara. So I'm going to be using this one to lock in the curl and to maintain the curl and also to have a waterproof mascara when it's hot and humid outside and when you're sweating and running around. But if you really don't want to go the waterproof route, don't worry, I have some great options that are not waterproof. However, they've never smudged, run, or failed me. So I'll show you those in just a bit. But for now, let me show you the Melt Curl Lock Mascara. This has a curved wand and it is waterproof. So we're going to take this, scoop this up and into the lashes. When you're doing your mascara, you want to really take the time to slow it down. You just applied your eyeshadow and the last thing you want to do is get eyeshadow on your eyelid. So I really encourage you to slow it down, take your time. In fact, I got a little fleck right there. I'll show you how to flake it off in a bit. So I love to get to the root of my lashes, kind of wiggle up. Oh, I'll show you how to fix that too. But as I was saying, I like to get to the root, wiggle back and forth, and then pull straight up. I find this gives me nice thickness at the root, nice volume, and it helps to maintain the curl even more. So this is a great learning lesson. So if you are just starting out with makeup, if you are truly a beginner and you run into this mistake that we all have done, even if you're a pro makeup artist, you're going to end up getting mascara on your face at some point or other. The important thing to do is to let it fully dry down. And I'm talking like completely. So you're going to see me have this mascara on my skin for quite a while before I flake it off. So in that meantime, 2 mascaras that never disappoint me that have held up so well in hot, humid weather. The L'Oreal Panorama Mascara, my OG, my favorite, and the L'Oreal Paradise Big Deal. Very lightweight, more fluttery, more of a soft formula. A little more dramatic, a little more intense, a little bit more like high impact. So it's up to you and what your lash style is. As a beginner, if you want like more drama and more impact, I would go for Panorama. If you want to be softer and maybe a bit more on the natural side, but still gives you like that va-va-voom, the Lash Paradise Big Deal is phenomenal. Both great options. Okay, now that we've talked, we've let this dry down. Grab your brow pencil. They should have a spoolie at the end like that. This is the best tool on earth to flake off mascara. So I'm gonna flake this guy off real quick, okay? I'm gonna go back to my blending brush, reblend right there. Same thing, we're gonna flake this bad boy off. Okay, so you're gonna be left with probably a little bit of redness, which is totally normal. Okay, go back to your foundation, tap it on, and then go about your day. No harm, no foul. Okay, now that we've gotten our mascara on, our eyes are complete, our brows are complete, we have foundation on, we're gonna go back to that little concealer brush, and this is the time we're gonna buff out any excess creasing that might have happened. You're gonna just scoop this underneath your lash line before you lock in your under eye concealer for once and for all. So blend this out, make sure there's no visible creases, because the last thing you want to do, especially as a beginner or an advanced makeup wearer, is set your creases into your under eyes. So make sure you're blending out one final round, making sure it's all nice, cohesive, it's well blended. There's no lines where your concealer starts and stops. It's nice and it's seamless. So this is what I want you to look for before you set your under eyes. You're going to take a smaller setting brush. This is my N14 brush. This is perfect for blending and setting your under eye concealer. So I'm going to take that brush, dip back into the Kosas Cloud Set Powder. I wear the shade Breezy or the shade Candy, which is like a soft pink tone. They have tons of shades to choose from. Tap off the excess and you're going to place this right where you have the bulk of your concealer. You want to lock it into place. And the great thing about this powder is it's super lightweight. It's great for touch-ups. It is Very, very finely milled for a pressed powder. And I always say this is one of the best beginner-friendly powders because it just blends into your skin, looking really soft, really natural. And even if you apply too much or too little, it still looks good. So amazing for beginners just starting out and amazing for locking in your concealers. So take more of that powder, press it, lock in the concealer, press, press, take a bit more, press. Anywhere you put that concealer, you want to press this into that and lock it into place. And I like to just run this in the T-zone to really lock in the rest of the makeup. Even though we're wearing a powder foundation, if you have more oily skin like I do, I like to just add a bit more of this powder. If you are not oily like me, you can skip this step. Okay, now that our makeup is set, we're locked into place, we can move on to some powders. Now, we need to bring some life back into this complexion. Now that we've blinked out all of the tone, all of the color, all the dimension, we need to infuse some life back into place. And the quickest, easiest way to do that is with a powder bronzer. But not just any powder bronzers. You're really gonna wanna look for powder bronzers that are easy to blend, easy to build up, and not too intensely pigmented. Now those can end up hurting you in the long run because if they're too pigmented, you can really run the risk of applying too much, too heavy-handed all at once and not being able to blend it out and sheer it out. So look for formulas that are a bit more buildable. One that's affordable that I really like, and it's also a matte finish, making it really ideal for summertime because it's going to just stay put really, really nicely, is the Sephora Collection Matte Bronzer. These are like the newly reformulated ones. I have the shade 01 Golden Getaway. So it's a soft, very buildable, very easy to work with matte powder bronzer. And the easiest way to apply a matte powder bronzer is with a bigger brush. Not over the top big, but just big enough that it's got some loose fibers to the brush where it's going to apply a soft wash of the bronzer and not too small and compact of a brush where it's going to pack on the bronzer. So the bigger the brush, the more natural the application. The smaller the brush, the more intense the application will be because the pickup of the product is going to be more intense. Take your brush. I want you to just tap in, kind of turn the brush as you're doing it. Now, this is where I want you to just really get familiar with the formula and how impactful it is. And the best way to do that is to do a little pre-blend. So pre-blend in the palm of your hand, just like that, okay? Just to make sure that it's nice and evenly coated. And then what I want you to do is hit the high points of your face. So think always in the summertime or not, just when you're applying bronzer, think what the sun would naturally hit you. That's going to be the top of our forehead, right? Very top of the forehead. And I want you to just swipe it back and forth very softly. And now that I'm more familiar with the bronzer, and you will be too at this point, you can dip back in for more without having to pre-blend and just hit the high points. Our makeup is set, it's locked into place. So it's okay if you do light blending and buffing motions, but very, very light pressure. You don't want to go in there and go like this. You want to keep it nice, soft. And this is really where it's going to be up to you, how much bronzer you want to see and what you're comfortable wearing in your summer makeup look. So if you want to stop at this point, beautiful. At least you have some color, you're good to go. But if you want to build it up, that's all you would do is just keep building up until you're happy with the color intensity and the color payoff. Look how pretty that bronzer is. It's such a good, soft, easy to work with, easy to build up bronzer. It's not too intense. It's not too orange. It's a really nice tone. So if you're a light medium tone like me, this is a really good color to pick. Now I like to also hit the sides of my forehead, the sides of my temple, just to get some color and some warmth back to my complexion. If you're blonde or if you have light hair, make sure you're a little bit more careful when you're coming close to your hairline. For me, again, I have black hair, so it doesn't matter if I get it right in there, you're not gonna be able to tell. So same thing, take the bronzer, and then I want you to just kind of pat this all along the high point of your cheek. Okay, we're not going below, we're just kind of getting this general area. This is gonna look super soft and super natural. So just kind of tapping it, keeping it nice and high up, but also kind of getting around the ear. You can bring it down a bit towards your jaw with whatever's left over. I'm not dipping back into more product. I want to keep this really soft. I'm just using whatever's left over to get along my jawline. So it's nice, undetectable, but it's cohesive. So again, we're going to build up to our liking. So it's up to you when you want to stop, but just overall, you almost want to do a C shape basically. So you're going to do a nice C shape. Very old school, but it's a great way to remember application and where to put this bronzer. High points, C shape. I mean, you could do C or you could do like an E, basically. It's the same thing. So repeat, just kind of tap it on. You'll notice I'm not getting in there and going like this aggressively. You don't want to do that. You want to be very mindful and very careful and just lightly tap it right on top. This will ensure that you don't dig up your products underneath, that you don't end up with a patchy result, and that you don't end up with a muddy result. You want to end up with a nice smooth appearance of this bronzer that doesn't look like it's skipping as you're trying to blend it in. So just tap it on really gently. Now, you're going to want to stop at this point, right? You're going to think, okay, I did my forehead, I did my cheeks, I did a little bit of my jaw, I'm good, right? No, this is where you want to add some more. And I want you to just throw caution to the wind for a second and be your own artist. And I want you to take the same brush, dip into the bronzer, pre-blend a little bit. And this is where you need to bring some balance and some vibrancy and some color to the center of your face. Because right now we just have it on the perimeter and like the outside of our face. And we have nothing in the center. In order to look like you're sun-kissed and in order to have a good beginner-friendly makeup look for the summertime, you've got to hit your nose. So do not neglect your nose. We're not contouring it. We're just bringing some sun-kissed vibrancy to the center of our face. And all you're doing is kind of tapping back and forth. You're not going like this. You're just kind of tapping right on the bridge, on the tip, leaving this area blank. So just focus on literally, this is all you're going to do. You're just going to hit it like that. Can you see that? And this will give you the best, most beautiful sun-kissed look and most cohesive look to your summer makeup application. So if you're a beginner, I highly encourage you, do not skip this step. Don't be afraid of it. You got this. It's so easy. Just tap it on. Forget about the top of the bridge. Just hit the actual bridge, like right across, and the tip. Hit the chin one more time. Take a step back. Do we look cohesive? Yes. Do we look like we have some color and some warmth back to our beginner-friendly makeup application? Yes. This is where I want you to stop and add some blush. Now here's where I want you to think a little bit more advanced, and I want you to not be intimidated by layering. Even as a beginner makeup wearer, I highly encourage you to familiarize yourself and get more used to the idea of layering your makeup specifically for summer. So in the wintertime, you can skip it. In the spring, fall, you can skip it. But if there's any time to really just lock in a makeup look and to really layer a makeup look, it's gonna be your blush in the summertime. So I have two really great, really easy options for your blush, and I wanna teach you the easy, beginner-friendly way to layer these two together. Now here's what you're gonna need. A double-ended brush. The front side of this brush is gonna be for creams, liquids, and any kind of wet makeup applications and wet products. So we're gonna use this side to lay down this amazing formula for summer. This is the Rare Beauty Matte Bouncy Blushes. I find that these are so user-friendly. They're so beginner-friendly, so easy to blend on. They're blurring, they're smooth, they're not patchy, and they just kind of do all the work for you. They're really, really an easy formula. And for beginner makeup looks, I've always stressed the importance of using a powder blush because I find that they're the most beginner-friendly. But if there's one cream that I find to be very, very beginner friendly, it's this one from Rare Beauty. The rest of them, they're going to take more elbow grease, more skill, and a little bit more practice when it comes to blending them on as a beginner. This one, I'm just going to say, has been the most beginner friendly, in my opinion, that you'll ever come across. And the bonus for this one, and the reason why it's in this makeup look, is because it's a matte finish, but it goes on as a cream. So it's going to be really long wearing. It's going to give you great longevity in the hot, humid summer months. So take your cream blush, and this is the shade Hope. Hope is a really soft mauve, like a muted mauve tone. Really ideal for just starting out because it's not a super intense color that's going to be really impactful and really hard to blend out. So you're going to bounce your brush into the product. You're going to just pre-blend a little bit. I mean, just a little bit. And then I want you to just look straight into your mirror and tap it on to the high points of your cheek. I say the high points because if you're wanting a little bit of a lift with your blush application, this is going to give you a nice soft lift versus if you smiled and you just went like this. And then when you're at rest, that blush is going to be a lot lower than you anticipate it being. So going a bit higher is a really safe, more foolproof way to apply your blush. And ultimately, it's usually the most flattering way to wear your blush. There's always exceptions. Generally speaking, it's the most flattering way to wear your blush. A little bit more high up. So see how I'm just tapping it on, just tapping it quick, easy, and it's just such a beginner-friendly blush. I just love this formula so much. They did such a great job. So you're just going to tap in. You're not going to dig. You're not going to swirl. You're not going to buff. You're just going to tap and then tap. That's all you have to remember to do. Just tap, tap. When in doubt, look straight into your mirror. Make sure you're not going too low. So hold your mirror nice up high. Don't go too low. Tap it on. This lays so well on top of a powder foundation like the Jane Iredale. it just looks seamless. Now, once we have enough blush showing up and once we're happy with the amount of blush, again, it's going to be different for everyone. So it's up to you to decide if you have too much on, if this is just the right amount. If you love blush and you want to layer a bit more, we're going to get to it right now. But it's up to you to figure out what you're most comfortable with as a beginner and to stop it there. So for me, I love blush. I could keep going and going and going and never stop. But for the sake of this video, I will stop at this point because it's a beautiful stopping point. And now I'm going to teach you the easiest, quickest way to layer a powder blush right on top like a pro. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you're finding a like-minded shade. This one is almost identical to the Rare Beauty. This is the Milani shade 03 Berry Amore, and this is the baked powder blush. Now, for a beginner, I've always talked about baked blushes being the most user-friendly, the easiest to use, the easiest to apply, and just the most foolproof. They're baked, meaning they're more soft and they're more of like a sheer application. They're really easy to build up. They're not high intensity, high impact stage makeup right away that are really difficult to blend on and make them look like well blended and seamless. Baked blushes just melt into your skin with ease and minimal effort. So baked blushes are just ideal. So this shade has a little bit of a glow to it, which is ultimately going to double as our highlighter as well. So it's going to give us a soft glow to our skin, making it beautiful, really flattering, and just really gorgeous in the summer months or any months, honestly. Now here's where it gets really easy. You're going to take that same brush, but you're going to flip it back, use the darker fiber side. This is going to be ideal for powder formulas. And you're going to swipe into the Milani Baked Blush. And again, baked blushes are going to be your best friend as a makeup beginner. I promise you that. So always look for a baked formula and you will be golden. So it's going to look like this. You can do a little pre-blending if you're a little scared. Otherwise, take it and you're gonna just tap it on top of the blush that we already have on prior. So nowhere different. We're gonna just layer it right on top using the same motion, the same amount of pressure, the same everything. And it's kind of like the same idea as the eyeliner that we placed earlier. We placed that eyeliner, right? And then we just placed a dark, like-minded shadow on top and we just went right over it. So we already had that guide. We already had that roadmap figured out for us. Same thing with the blush. You're just going to tap this right on top. And the great thing is it's going to further lock in that Rare Beauty. It's going to lock it into place and it's going to give us even more longevity. So one of the first things that disappears as we're wearing it throughout the day is blush. And this is why I really wanted to take the time to teach you how to layer your blush, especially in the summer months, because blush on its own already tends to disappear and to fade throughout the day. So especially in the summer months when it's hot and humid and we're sweating, your blush just really doesn't have a chance of staying put and being long lasting. So by layering it, even as a beginner, it's just a really great way to make sure that your makeup stays put. So it's going to add that nice bit of glow. You can see right here how it added that soft luminosity. And now we're getting to the point where it's going to be up to you to stop. So if you feel like this is enough blush or if you feel like you want less, totally up to you, totally customizable. But that is how you layer blush as a beginner. It's quick, it's easy. Do not be intimidated by it. I promise you, you could do it. Okay, I don't know if you could believe it, but we are at the point where we're going to be applying lip. And I have such an easy, foolproof lip combo for you that I cannot wait to show you. But before I do, I have to tell you, before we dive into that lip liner, I want you to take the time to do one quick thing. Don't be scared. It's going to feel like nothing on your lips, I promise you. But if you just take a little bit of your pressed powder, the same one we used earlier, the Kosas one, and that same brush, the N14, take a small little amount of powder. This is what you're going to do to keep your lipstick on 10 times longer and to just overall smooth the appearance of your lips. So if you have fine lines, it's going to blur them and it's going to keep that lip on, and more importantly, really prevents it from feathering throughout the day. So take that small amount. You're going to just blend this across your lip line. Don't get in the center, just get on the lip line, okay? Just like that. Done. Don't skip this step. I promise you, as a beginner, you will look like a pro makeup artist if you just do this step. It's going to be a game changer for your routine. Now, when I think of literally one of the most user-friendly, beginner-friendly lip liners that are on the market, hands down, it's going to go to the Merit Sheer Lip Liners. These are sheer, just like they say, meaning they're going to be super duper forgiving. So if you make a mistake, if you go too heavy, if you go outside the line, it won't even matter, really. I mean, to some extent, it won't matter because they're so sheer, they're so soft, they're so natural. They really are so foolproof and so beginner friendly. So if you were intimidated by lip liner, I highly encourage you to get one of these. Because they are so sheer, because they're so creamy, they don't go on super opaque, right? They're not like trying to apply like a liquid eyeliner at the first try. Those are really intimidating because they're so impactful, they're so opaque. This is the opposite. These are like a soft, sheer wash of a lip liner, making them so ideal for a beginner makeup look. So I'm gonna take the shade Bespoke. And what I like to do is start in the center. You can either close your lips, or if you're really in doubt of how to shape your lips and how to line them, what I really like to do to get a smooth application is gently smile with my mouth open, just like this. By doing this, you're stretching the skin of your lip. So if you have a lot of fine lines, if you are wanting a smooth application of your lip line, instead of being like pursed and trying to get a smooth line when you're causing all these wrinkles, that's not the way to do it. Trust me. Gently open, smile, stretch the skin, rest your pinky for stability, and line your lips. I always start at the top, and I always start at the Cupid's bow. But ultimately, it really doesn't matter where you start. I just want you to start the heaviest where you want the most impact. So I wouldn't necessarily start in the inner corner because you might run the risk of applying too much and too heavy-handedly in that inner corner, where ultimately you want to be a little bit softer in this inner part. Now, normally, if I was doing a really opaque pencil, I would say skip the inner corner altogether, but since this is so sheer, so forgiving, so user-friendly, don't be afraid to go all the way in with it. But do you see how sheer and easy this is? Now, everyone's lip shape is different, and everyone's preference on how they shape their lips is different. I like a rounded top lip. This is my personal preference and how I like to see my lips. If you want a more sharp Cupid's bow, go for it. It's really up to you, and it's going to be personal to what you like and what you prefer to see with your lip shape. But now that is on, I have two really fantastic, really easy to use, really long wearing lip options for hot summer days. One is a lot pricier than the other, but they're both fantastic, honestly. So I'm gonna give you both options, and I'll probably end up using this one because I have not used this on camera, but I really like this formula. This is the Victoria Beckham Bitten Lip Tint. It's a gel lip tint, and this is really easy to apply as a beginner. So you apply it just like a lip gloss, which is super easy. It's a lot easier than going on with a bullet lipstick and trying to get a nice straight line. So very beginner friendly. And the other one that I love and I talked about so often, and the reason why I'm not using this one in this tutorial is because I've used it so often. So I want to show you a different product just to spice it up. But I absolutely love the Kulfi lip oil stains. These are the Lassie lip staining oils. They're incredible. I just picked up a new nude shade, but this is my OG favorite. It's the shade Rose, and these do not disappoint. They're incredibly long-lasting and ridiculously easy to apply. But for this look, we'll be using the Victoria Beckham Beauty Poupette and applying it just like a lip gloss right in the center. So start in the center, work your way out. Try not to cover up that lip line entirely because it's so pretty. You don't want to disguise it. You don't want to just take away what you just worked hard to apply. So just try to fill in the center and then lightly feather it closer to the lip line. So start in the center, then work your way up towards the liner. It's such a great shade. It's so wearable. It's so soft. It's so user-friendly. And this is the makeup look, but we have one final round of setting spray to apply to ensure that everything is locked into place for this beginner's guide to makeup in the summer. So one last spray, shake it up, tilt your head up, bring your arm up, spray down, let it soak in, and that is the last step. And this is the finished look. It's giving soft glam, it's giving longevity, it's giving the right amount of glow, the right amount of bronze, and it is super easy to digest and super easy to do. So if you're a beginner, just starting your makeup journey, specifically wanting an easy look to do for the summer months, try this makeup look, comment below, let me know how it worked out for you. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you are a beginner wanting to learn more tips and tricks, definitely subscribe to the channel. I have tons of videos just like this that you can check out right here. I hope you found it helpful. Happy summer, and I'll see you in the next one.